Back in my track days, way back in my track days, we were taught that you wore your tennis shoes or your sneakers, as some people call them, when you were running your workouts during the week and warming up before your events on meet day. Tennis shoes or sneakers, as some people call them, like I said, they were never to be worn during competition. In the same way, spikes were only worn during competition. The only exception being when you are practicing a specialty event like hurdles, long jump, high jump, etc. In life, we get confused as to when to wear our sneakers versus our spikes. What do I mean by this statement, you might ask? There are times in life that we need to have on our sneakers, times when we're just warming up. Then there are other times that we need to have on our spikes. This is when we are doing a specific skill. According to Ecclesiastes 3:1-8, there is a time for everything. Verse 1 tells us that there's an occasion for everything and a time for every activity under heaven. Verses 2-8, they go on to give us specifics on what is meant by everything. So we have a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to throw stones and a time to gather stones, a time to embrace and a time to avoid embracing, a time to search and a time to count as lost, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to sow, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. I believe that the Christian Standard translation makes it very plain for us, but let me make it a little bit more relevant for us women. Let's talk about a few concepts that us women need to be better about. So make sure you're sitting down for this one, possibly taking some notes, because if you haven't already indulged in some of these, I want to make sure that you don't ever indulge in any of these. Also, please don't start feeling some type of way as I break these down. Remember, I'm talking about it because I've been there. I'm just trying to help as many other women as possible to avoid some of this stuff. Okay, so number one, we've all heard the saying, stay in your lane. But I think that we need to add another important word, which is correct. Stay in the correct lane where God placed you. So many times we are all over the place, trying to have a hand in this and a toe in that, with our nose all around town. When instead, we need to be focusing on what and where God would have us to be. If he's giving you a gift in a specific area, but he's giving your coworker a gift in another area, you can't be upset about where he's placed you versus where he's placed her. So for example, Allie is obviously gifted in the area of patience and working with children who have learning disabilities. Because of her God-given gift, she has been given a new assignment in that area. How silly would it be for me to be jealous of her and comparing myself to her when our gifts are different? My responsibility is to focus on what God has gifted me to do and not focus on what he has gifted Allie to do. Number two, don't force relationships that aren't healthy and thriving. We talked about this already in our talk titled Let It Be, and also in our talk called Closed Doors, but it never hurts to double back. Please, 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 if it's unhealthy, which includes so many things, but predominantly cheating, excuse me, abuse, physical and mental, it's not likely to get better. He's probably not going to change. You probably didn't do anything to cause his behaviors. And no matter how much weight you lose or what you do, how you change, how you dress, it's still going to be an unhealthy relationship. So at some point, you have to decide how much you can take and when you are going to walk away. Here's an important thing. We cannot put it in anyone's hands besides God's to determine when and if you should leave. So not your girlfriend, not your cousin, not your auntie. It needs to be between you and God trying to figure that whole dynamic out. And last, but certainly not least, stop doing wifely duties when you're a girlfriend. This is another topic that Pretty covered before. This one was in the blog called Free Trial. So if you haven't read that yet, please read Free Trial. We talked about how we give the full subscription to people in situations when they should only be getting a free trial. And I know this one hits hard, right in the gut. I've been in this predicament a few too many times myself. It's difficult sometimes though, because, and I know we mention this often, but it's truly because God created us to be nurturers as women. So we take this mindset, this nurturing mindset into relationships, whether or not it's deserved. We want to go above and beyond for our significant other because we feel like that will make them see that I really do care about them. Or we want to try to convince them that we are worthy of being their wife. We have all what it takes. We have all the qualities. But anybody that knows my grandmother, she is known for this saying, why would he buy the cow if he's already getting the milk for free? Now, I know what you're thinking. I'm not a cow. Well, neither am I. But the point is, we are currently or have in the past given that man the milk for free. To sum everything up, ladies, remember, there is a time and a place for everything. There is a time to wear those sneakers when Jesus is working on us and helping to get us to the place where we need to be for the appointed time. This can be thought of as our practice, our training ground. It's difficult here. There were many times when I think back of my track days at track practice, and Zanita, you were there with me. There were many times where I threw up after a tough workout while I was wearing my sneakers. It's also sometimes lonely in this phase. My friends may be at another stage in their lives, but I can't look at their placement and lose faith that I'm not in the correct lane. These times when you're in your sneakers, these times will seem like they are going to last forever, like they're never ending. Remember, God uses this time in our sneakers to prepare us. So know that you are exactly where God would have you to be. Then there is a time to wear those spikes. When God has prepared us for a thing and he allows us to confidently walk or run in it. When we're in this stage, the spike wearing stage, we have gone through some things, maybe even suffered, but at the same time, we are now ready to walk in our God-given purpose. We aren't trying to fit in or be something that we weren't called to be. As good as it sounds, and as good as it may feel here in the spike wearing phase, remember that we are not always going to be wearing spikes. We may have them on this month, but by next month, we could be back in our sneakers. The key is to not get discouraged, to stay positive. Take the full experience in and know that there is a lesson during the time that we are wearing those sneakers. He is preparing us to put on our spikes and run the race that he has chosen for us, not what we've chosen for ourselves. So make sure you know which shoes God wants you to wear and when, your sneakers versus your spikes.